It was a crime that haunted a small Texas town for decades. A ghost story whispered from one generation to the next, a mystery that seemed destined to remain unsolved forever. But in the world of cold cases, time is a strange thing. Sometimes, all it takes is one new piece of evidence, one advancement in technology, to blow the dust off an old file and bring a dark secret into the light. Today, we're diving into the shocking resolution of a 1981 murder that has finally led to an arrest, sending ripples through a community that thought this chapter was closed for good. Let's rewind to the spring of 1981 in a quiet corner of Texas. Life was simpler then. The biggest news was often the high school football game or the county fair. But that sense of peace was shattered when a young woman, full of life and with her whole future ahead of her, was found murdered. The investigation was intense. Police followed every lead, interviewed dozens of people, and collected every piece of evidence they could. They had suspects, they had theories, but nothing stuck. The evidence was circumstantial, and the technology of the time could only take them so far. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the trail went cold. The case file was eventually boxed up and moved to a dusty shelf in the archives, joining countless other unsolved mysteries. For the family of the victim, there was no closure, only a gaping wound that never healed. For the community, it was a chilling reminder that darkness could touch even the most peaceful of places. Decades passed, the world changed, technology that was once science fiction became a reality. And in a forensics lab, a determined cold case detective decided to take another look. They revisited the evidence from the 1981 crime scene, items that had been carefully preserved for all these years. This time, they had a new weapon in their arsenal: advanced DNA analysis and genetic genealogy. This groundbreaking technique allows investigators to take a tiny, degraded DNA sample and build a family tree, tracing the unknown suspect's relatives until they can narrow down their identity. It's the same technology that has cracked famous cases like the Golden State Killer, and it was about to work its magic once again. Patiently, painstakingly, forensic scientists and genealogists worked on the minute DNA sample recovered from the 1981 crime scene. It was a long shot. After 40 years, the evidence could have been too degraded to yield any results. But they persisted. They uploaded the profile to public genealogy databases and began the meticulous process of building a family tree. It's like putting together a giant, complex puzzle with thousands of pieces. They identified distant cousins, great aunts, and second cousins once removed, slowly but surely closing in on a branch of the family tree that led them right back to that small Texas town. After months of painstaking work, they narrowed it down to one person, a name. A man who was still living, someone who had been hiding in plain sight for over 40 years. The next step was crucial. Investigators had their suspect, but they needed to confirm it. They needed a direct DNA sample from the man to compare against the evidence from the crime scene. This required careful, covert surveillance. They followed the suspect, waiting for an opportunity to collect what investigators call abandoned DNA, a used coffee cup, a discarded cigarette, anything he touched and left behind. Once they obtained a sample, it was rushed to the lab. The waiting must have been agonizing for the detectives who had dedicated so much time to this case. Was this the moment? Would 40 years of questions finally be answered? The lab results came back. It was a perfect match. The DNA from the coffee cup was a direct match to the DNA found at the murder scene in 1981. They had their man. After 43 years, the ghost that had haunted this town finally had a face and a name. The suspect was an older man now. In his late 60s, he had lived an entire life. Since the crime, he had a family, a job, neighbors who knew him as just another guy in the community. No one suspected that he was carrying such a dark secret. The day of the arrest was a quiet, surreal moment. There was no dramatic chase. Police simply showed up at his door. The man who answered was a grandfather, a neighbor, someone you might see at the grocery store. The shock in the community was palpable. People who had known him for years couldn't believe it. He was just a normal guy. How could he be capable of such a thing? It's a chilling reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes, they are the people we least expect, living right next door. For the victim's family, the news was a tidal wave of conflicting emotions. There was relief, a sense that justice was finally within reach. But the arrest also reopened old wounds, bringing all the pain and grief of 1981 rushing back to the surface. For decades, they lived with the not knowing. Now, they face a new reality, the difficult journey of a court trial and the prospect of finally hearing the details of what happened to their loved one. Their journey is far from over, but for the first time in a very long time, there is a glimmer of hope for closure. This case is a testament to the incredible power of modern forensic science and, more importantly, the unwavering dedication of law enforcement. The detectives who refused to let this case be forgotten, who saw a chance with new technology and seized it, are the true heroes of this story. They gave a voice back to a victim who was silenced long ago and brought a family one step closer to peace. It sends a powerful message to anyone who thinks they can get away with a crime. Time is no longer on your side. Science is catching up, and there is no statute of limitations on justice. As this case moves to the courts, the full story will begin to unfold. We will likely learn more about the motive, the circumstances of that fateful day in 1981, and how a man managed to keep such a terrible secret for his entire adult life. It's a story that is both tragic and hopeful. Tragic for the life that was lost and the decades of pain the family endured, but hopeful because it proves that no case is ever truly cold, and no victim is ever forgotten. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as compelling as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into cases like this. We'll be following the developments in this trial, so stay tuned for updates. See you in the next one.